Yeah, boy, it's detail time. Not your average detailing cleaning like a regular old bike mechanic. We're gonna go supersized with the auto industry best of the best processes and what they use to make your bicycle paint frame pop like that Maserati you just saw drive down the driveway. Probably not your driveway, but somebody's driveway, I'm sure. We'll review the simple but yet efficient tips and tricks with your bike frame after this. Today's show is brought to you by Medum Bikes, where you can find bicycles that won't break the bank. Great brands like Univega and Vin Diesel, but give you a good quality, safe ride to be able to do those extended rides and get into cycling. You'll find a link below with added savings to extend that adventure starting now. Hey, welcome back to Annoy Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin the guy on this old bike. Well, not so old, because the parts are fairly new. This is one of those bikes that have been converted from an old frame and upgraded to a newer drivetrain, wheels, and pretty much almost everything in the spectrum of extra bits. Any case, this particular bike has been brought to me from a dear YouTuber like you for me to do the tune-up of my guy's magic. Reason being is he did the assembly of all the parts and basically upgraded his bike. Did a wonderful job, by the way. There's a couple little things here and there that you would have to have 35 years of experience to even catch, which, it's fine. And in other words, the bike was pretty much safe to ride. At the end of the day, that's where it wants to be. But we're going to elevate that, or he wanted to elevate it to the magic tune. What does that mean? Well, a lot of different tune-ups out there have different packages from different shops. Well, one of mine upper level tune-ups is detailing the frame as well as a ceramic coating. Kind of like your high-end detailing of cars, but for your bike paint, which is the same materials that they use on car paint for the most part. So that being said, I went down that rabbit hole a couple years back, and there's several videos below in my library where I did a lot of detailing. Yes, and we're going to revamp and bring back, well, the latest tips and tricks that I use and also products that I've come across that work really well. Well, diving into that, we have this particular Cannondale R1000. It's an aluminum frame with a paint job with a clear coat. A lot of particular bike frames are like this. There's a few that have raw materials like titaniums or ball burners to aluminum, which you can still do the detailing and ceramic coating. Ceramic coating can be used on multiple different materials as well as rubber, plastic, and so forth. The properties of ceramic coating benefits are UV protection is one, you want to save that paint color, and number two, it makes that water bead up and makes it kind of like a waterproof shell protective layer that sheds all that gunk off. So it's great if you're going to use it on mountain bikes to road bikes to gravel bikes and everything in between. It gives that extra layer of protection against that clear coat and helps shed all that stuff off. Why would you want to do that? Well, you want your bike to last a long time. In addition to, if you have a steel frame and you live in a very humid climate, well, you may want to do the frame saver on the inside, which is a whole messy process, and definitely do the ceramic coating on the outside of all those potentially rusting area bits and so forth. Any exposed metal, put some clear coat or nail polish or something to protect that from getting water underneath it. Okay. Gone over the little bits. Well, we're going to talk about a few other things of what we do. Well, it's a lot of prep work. Prep. Reason being, same thing as car detailing. There's a lot of work, elbow grease, cleaning, and all that involved. A lot of layers to it. When you have a bike that's being tuned up or tuning up yourself, when it's down to just the frame and fork and have all the parts off, it makes it a lot easier to dive into and get into those nicks and crannies and corners and so forth. A bike surface is definitely not as easy or appealing to work on than cars, which are more big and whatever. Easier to hide stuff though, in any case. But looking at this frame being completely stripped, it makes it a lot easier to actually get to those parts and actually clean it. Well, while you're cleaning it, you're inspecting. First level of cleaning. First level of cleaning, we're actually doing basically soap, water, light polite. I use Purple Power diluted in a bottle of water. about half and half. What that does is help cut off any of the grease and so forth and that kind of thing. Cleaning all that gunk off. If you have road tar on there and so forth, then I get the heavy guns out and do in small sections, either carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. Definitely wear gloves and eye protection when you do any of this stuff, but you definitely want to get all that scuff off of there. If you really need to do some rubbing and scrubbing on the actual frame and kind of peeling off, don't use any metal parts. I found like tire levers that are nylon or plastic, good underneath a rag to scrape off those kind of areas. They kind of really shed that gunk off. And once you get that gunk off, you want that surface to be completely clean and rinsed. And then I do a final rinse of just light water that kind of just shed any of those extra chemicals and so forth, or extra dust or grime that might still be on there, completely off. Once you get to that case, the frame is clean and naked. Anyway, frame, fork, that kind of thing. Drivetrain bits, I do clean in all those with ultrasonic cleaner, with simple green, and various other degreasers to get all that stuff. And then you can also put either polishes if you really want to go crazy with a Q-tip, or you can just put ceramic coating with a applicator on there to help prevent those external surface areas to shed water and so forth, in addition to grime, and also have UV protection on those parts as well, which I found to be very, very beneficial. Ceramic coating is way cool and it can be used on a lot of different things. But cleaning is the first initial step to get the frame ready to be detailed, and also the parts as well. So it's a lot of elbow work and time put into this. Stage 2 after cleaning. After we get that all cleaned and grind free and ready to go, then I start applying the compound or scratch and swirl, or even a 3000 aught pad to get out some of those surface scratches in detail. On aluminum, you can kind of polish up those little areas that get to actual aluminum exposure. Kind of makes it kind of that Terminator look and kind of tough looking. I'm not talking about restoration. I'm talking about just basically refreshing that paint as best as possible, not doing the whole restore. Kind of like just want to make sure it is protected going forward, not to make it mint like it was before. High detailing, there's services out there to do that, and they cost a pretty penny. This is something that's just to protect what you currently have. So starting off with the actual compounds or the scratch and swirl to kind of get that surface as smooth, all those lipped areas where you have chip paints and so forth, kind of even, and giving it more of a protection and prevent any kind of water or contaminants going underneath that clear coat or paint. That's what you're trying to protect. Give that smooth surface to come down. When you apply that compound, get that all kind of smooth out, prep that clear coat and paint to as best as possible. And once you're going through that whole paint job, basically it's just the frame and fork when I do those particular things. You can do the polishes and so forth and buffing on polished aluminum parts like, you know, Dura-Ace or Ultegra or whatever, but be mindful that some of those particular parts on the drivetrain are coated and you might be removing that coating, so be careful there. I usually just do a clean, rinse, and then just a ceramic coating on top of it without doing any aggressiveness on the parts. But on the frame and fork, to get that to pop, and that's where I really kind of put the elbow grease into it. When I put in the compound, then I do the high quality polish from Adams. So those products I'm usually using polish with a Dremel tool, as you're seeing here, as I'm just doing the polishing down and so forth and getting all ready to go. Once that stage is filled to be in good condition, following each step with a wipe down with a fiber cloth and make sure the surfaces are clean. This is a great tip because you're going through that frame at least 5 or 6 to 8 times, and you're going to be inspecting any areas where you might find hairline cracks in the frame or damage or any of that kind of stuff. That's great. That particular frame is going to be in high performance and safety. So hey, why not? So once that is all done, once all the polishing and all that, maybe an hour or two into it, now you're ready to do the other last bit. So the last bit is basically prepping the paint, also your parts, to have that ceramic coating put on there. To do that beforehand, you need to clean it. Yeah, didn't you just clean it before? Clean it again because we want to get all that polishing compounds and so forth off that clear coat. All those microchasms of like little scratches and so forth, you want to be filled in with that ceramic coating. Don't worry, the polishes are still going to be there. The paint is still polished. It's just you're just removing that compounds that you're using off of that particular paint to apply that ceramic coating, giving the better contact as possible. Starting with the parts, when I clean the wheels, I wipe it down with, yes, purple power, and then once I clean that, I do the rim brake surfaces with rubbing alcohol. Well, then you do rubbing alcohol on all the other bits to clean all those chemicals off of it, what you use to actually degrease everything, just straight rubbing alcohol. Once those surfaces are exposed, then I apply a wax ceramic base, a little bit heavier than the ceramic coating that I put on the frame. Reason being is it's kind of two different things. They both work. If you have one, you can use it for either or. I just found I just like the others for the parts and one for the frame. Really is about the cost. The cheaper stuff goes on the parts and the more expensive goes on the frame. Shh, don't tell anyone. In any case, they all do the same thing and have a lot of the same properties. One may outlast the other. That's let the testers decide that. But I'm talking about this particular stage is once those parts are completely clean, then I take an applicator and apply it to all those little bits, give it a good coating, and then once it dries, I buff it down, what they call knockdown, with a very clean, if not brand new fiber cloth to buff it down. What that's going to do is protect the rim, the hubs, the spokes, also the cranksets, derailleurs, any other bits you have on there for UV protection, water beading, shedding, and also keeps the contaminants off of the actual contact metal parts. Therefore, when you even do the derailleur cages and the pulleys and you put a little coating on there, it actually protects that as well. Ooh, you can use it on everything. It's not kind of an end-all everything. No, not end-all everything. But it does really make the parts themselves pop as well as protect it. So let's talk about the frame. The frame, we clean it all off with, yes, you guessed it, rubbing alcohol. With that, that will definitely shed any of the old kind of polishes, grimes, swirls, whatever you may have missed. Give it a good swirl, a cleaning with a clean rag. So it's completely, basically naked and ready to take it. That didn't come out right. In any case, you want to take the applicator, apply it on the, I don't spray anything directly onto the bike unless it's water. I use ceramic coating. Ceramic Slam is my preferred flavor of choice of now, but you can use any particular ones that you like. Different ones have different kind of flash points, so keep that in mind. So if you're doing your spray on there, put it on, wipe off, you have a flash point. Some will have a window of time that you have to knock it down or it looks like it's smeared. So I found the lithium ceramic slam seems to work really well. You let it sit and then you can knock it down at a later time and you don't have any of that smudge looking kind of thing. The graphene styles from Adams has that, so you have that flash where you have to knock it down just right. There's a trick to that and I'll go to that in a moment here. But when you have the frame completely clean, I do an applicator, I do it over the whole frame and go over it twice. If I go over it twice, I'm pretty much going to catch all the spots at least once. That's kind of the trick of this. Then you can also what they call stacking. Let it dry 20-30 minutes. What that does is kind of hardens up, then you reapply again with the ceramic slam or the graphene from Adams or whatever brand that you use. Put a second layer on there. What you're doing is adding layer to layer. I do this 3 times. Reason being is I covered the frame at least a couple times because I use the applicator several times each one setting. Then here's the hard part. After you let it dry for 30 minutes or so, you can knock out the slam or the graphene from Adams. You have to get it within that flash point. Once it's there, then you got to let it sit for, I would say, 12 to 24 hours. That allows the coating to completely cure on those surfaces. And then you, again, take that fiber cloth and wipe everything back down again. It'll be immaculate, it'll be beautiful, and all of that. If you have smudges and streaks and so forth, here's the trick. Adams has a boost, a ceramic coat boost. Also, lithium does is called Color Crush. This has a little bit of that ceramic coating already built in there. You just put a little bit on that pad or a little bit on that rag clean, and then you reapply it. What that is kind of smoothing out any kind of areas that you may have kind of little boo-boos or smudge or didn't flash quite right. That's the high level detail. Then when that is all done and cured and buffed and ready to go, guess what? It's time to put all those parts back on that bike and ready to ride it. Yeah, it is a time-consuming thing, and that shops that do this and do it right, you're going to have your bike in there for a couple days. But at the end of the day, the bike frame is going to be immaculate and well protected. The componentry parts are going to be just the same. And then all you need to do is buy yourself a refresher ceramic polishing liquid like this, Color Crush or the Adams has their own, and touch up periodically when you do get in those really dirty, grimy rides and you rinse it all off and you just want to give it a little extra wipe down on the rag. Use this stuff, it makes that ceramic coating pop and come back to life, and it gives that added protection. So in any case, there we have it. Ceramic coating, ceramic coated parts. It's going to be beautiful and well protected. Well, he may even be a little faster in that wind tunnel, said no one. But anyway, yeah, that's so anyway, you heard it from me, the guy in the garage. Thanks for hanging out with me and learning a little bit about ceramic coatings and polishing and detailing those particular special bits on your bike, as well as that beloved bike frame and fork that you love. And it is just one beautiful thing in the sun once you get it all wrapped up in a nice bow. Well, thanks again for hanging out in the garage. If you have any kind of detailed tricks and so forth, or have done it on your bike frames, or if you're a shop that does this particular service, put the comments below. It is a community here, so thanks for sharing and adding to it. I do have listed an Amazon store below with all the supplies that I use, in addition to tips and tricks in the description. So take a look down there. If it's nice in your neck of the woods, please go for a ride. And until next time, from the garage, have a wonderful day. Well, that concludes this episode of This Old Bike. Thank you for tuning in and watching through the final reveal of the perfect bike for you. Maybe, maybe not. But in any case, I hope you learned some things along the way in the journey of a bike mechanic refurbishing these particular beautiful gems of the past, which are very relevant of today. Thanks for tuning in, and you will find other videos like these. Go ahead and click here to enjoy more refurbished, detailed bikes that are from the past.